Gotta go for that. It's doing the same thing. I try another quadrant. What was that? Go back one. Right? Holy cow. What the hell is this? 2 secrets.
Hi guys. Okay, I'd like to get some information out there, primarily for the new players, those who are thinking about either jumping into the game or have bought the game and are not quite sure what to do with it or how to be successful at it. So I'm going to talk over some basic things on offense, and then later on in the video I'm going to start to transition into some deeper things, and toward the tail end I will bring up some of the undocumented things that many of you may not know about. So there's going to be some secrets here, and I'm also going to talk strategy. So this will be the first in 3 quick videos that I'm going to put out, starting with this one, and then the next 2 will come out in the next maybe week or so. One on defense and one on team building. So enjoy this. If there's any questions you have, anything you'd like to know that I didn't cover, drop a question down in the comment section, and hit like, subscribe, anything to keep this going a little bit. And thanks. Enjoy. Okay, I say this quite a bit, and it's my common response to everybody who asks me, how do you win at Action PC Football, or how do you win at any of the sim football games? There's one commonality to all of them: play the coach, not his players. If you're going to win at Action PC Football in a draft league, you have to beat the other coach, not his team. Every team can beat any other team if you get a little bit of luck and you play smart. Now, luck is one of those things that comes into play throughout the course of the game. If you play a smart game and you set your opponent up just right, when the luck hits, you'll be in position to take advantage of it, because it's going to happen, and you want it to happen and get good use out of it. You don't want, you don't want to have 3rd and 26 and get some kind of a crazy scramble from the quarterback for 23 yards. Yeah, that was luck, but you're still punting. So keep yourself in position to make use of the luck when it comes. The next thing you need to do is have a game plan. You have to decide what it is that you like about football. What makes sense to you? What works for you? Do you like to pass and use that to set up the run? Do you like to run and use that to set up the pass? Do you like a balanced offense? Do you like to be someone who excels extremely at either passing or running and just ram that down your opponent's throat? There's something that's going to fit for you. Now, I know what fits for me. I know that I like to run the football, and I like to use that to set up a successful passing game. But I will first and foremost always go back to the running game as my crutch. When things start going bad, I'm going to try and take control of the game and take control of the clock and wear down the defense and work on it through the running game. So take that for what it's worth. I've had some success with it. If you figure out what your opponent is trying to do, you can't stop them, but you can really slow them down quite a bit. You can take their star quarterback, Drew Brees, and if you know what the coach is going to do with him, you can turn Drew Brees into Geno Smith in a heartbeat. Now, Geno Smith could still beat you if he gets lucky, but you're giving yourself a fighting chance. So now let's look at the lineups here that are available to you on offense and see what each lineup is intended to offer you as an offensive coach. When you're calling offensive plays, a lot of people have questions about the special plays tab and the plays that are shown there that you can access. Out of those plays, several of them are only intended for the college game. And if you try to use them on a league that's set up as a pro league or a draft league, they're going to absolutely reek. They're going to be terrible, but they'll work very well in college. Those are the read option and the triple option. If you're in a pro league, just don't use them. Ignore them. If you're in a college league, that's your bread and butter right there. So go after that crap. Now there are a list of plays up there that you can use all you like. And they don't decay, they don't degrade, they don't harm you in any way. They have mixed bag outcomes. A lot of them are situational, but here's the list of those plays right here. I hate this thing. I hate that thing. I lost 35 pounds recently, and that's what I got for it. It was my turkey waddle. Anyway, those plays. The remainder of the plays, the end arounds, the reverses, the real trick plays, you pretty much get to use once per half, and that's it. If you use any one of them, if you use a reverse, that kind of cancels out all the rest of them. The next time you try to use it, the odds of it having any success whatsoever are cut in half. It's just horrible. It's terrible. You'll even get a warning in the play-by-play, oh, the defense is on to you now. So, yeah, and they're all lumped into one basket. If you pull one out of the basket and use it, it ruins all of them. So wait for the right opportunity. Just don't throw one out there because you think it'd be fun. Part of being a good offensive coach is being able to run a 2-minute drill. And I know many of you guys who played against me know that I run a pretty good 2-minute drill. I'm going to give you a blanket thing here to think about whenever you're trying to run your 2-minute offense and you need to get down the field and you're worried about time. There are 4 things you never do. 4. You never do on offense in a 2-minute drill. You don't roll out, you don't use play action, you don't use motion, and you never call an audible. All of those add ticks onto the clock. Now, if you get down the field quick enough, you can start goofing around with some shenanigans and do some things if you want to. But if time is your primary concern, by all means, stay away from those 4 things. Now, as part of your 2-minute drill, or when you're behind late in the game, there are some things you're going to want to do. How many of you have had 3rd and 25, and it's late in the game, and you're down by 2 scores, and you know you just need to try for this ball, and you set up the right pass, and you go for it, and the quarterback bumbles around and throws some little 4-yard check down, and it doesn't do you a damn bit of good. So there's a little button there called quarterback must pass. When you hit that button, the quarterback has a primary receiver, and that's the only receiver he will throw to. he will throw the pass that you called and nothing else. Another thing, you get into that situation where it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you're thinking, well, I need to pass the ball, I can't run the ball. And believe me, as a defensive coach, if it's 3rd and 8 and you want to run the ball, by all means, I'll buy you a beer. Go for it, because I know I'm getting the ball back. You can run the ball and then punt, and I'm good with that. And most people on defense, they'll call short zone or tight man, and they'll try and bottle things up so that it make it more difficult for you to get the first down. Now, most offensive coaches will look at that and say, well, I'll throw a medium pass, because the medium pass, they're not gonna key that and take that away from me. But what you don't realize is a short pass might typically have a 70-75% chance at success, and when you play a tight man, that drops down to 60 to 62%. But the medium pass might be sitting at 58 to 60%. You may still have a better chance to get the pass against the short or tight. So don't discount that just because the opposition has figured out what you're doing. Sometimes them figuring out what you're doing doesn't matter. Your players are still going to win out. It's a little bit more difficult to pick up 7 or 8 yards against a zone defense than it is against man. So if you're playing against somebody who's always playing a man defense, by all means, it's a lot easier to pass against those guys. Now, if you're a running type person, you like to run the ball quite a bit, and you've got a line that's overloaded. It might be really strong on one side of the ball and not so strong on the other. And the defensive coach may get the hint that you're always running the same direction. You're always going that way. So they may slant the line over there to block you off on that side. Now, running to the other side isn't going to do you any good, because slanting the line doesn't help that. It helps a little bit, but it's not as big a deal as it would be if you were to run to the weak side. You run to the weak side, you can kind of hurt yourself pretty bad. So if you want to counter what the defense is doing if they're slanting the line, you can run counter, which will send your running back off in the direction that you usually go. He'll take one step and then cut back the other way up through the line. This doesn't really give you a big advantage, but it neutralizes a line slant. Even if the line is slanting in or slanting out, a run counter will pretty much neutralize the line slant. Now, another simple thing, when you're on offense, you see a little button down there called strong R, strong right, and that is where your tight end is going to play. So he's going to be on the right side, and your tight end is going to be your run blocker added to that heavy side. You can click that to strong R, and it'll change to strong left, and it'll throw the tight end over to the other side of the line. So if you want to try and balance out your line for runs, if the defense is kind of getting onto you, you can shift your tight end over and balance the lines a little bit better, and give the defense a bit of pause, thinking that you're always going to run in the same direction. Now, of course, your running backs, if you use them as a receiver, when you press the wide button, the W button, that sets them out wide. Their run blocking is negated when you do that, but their receiving ability is increased, plus the receiving ability of every other receiver on the team is also slightly increased due to the number of targets that you've added to the play. So just keep in mind that if you shift your tight end out wide, you lose that run block. Your running backs and your tight end, they have pass blocking ratings, and if you don't press the block button to keep them in the block, those ratings are 0. They don't mean anything, because those players are going out on a route, or they're expected in play action. They're going to be decoys, but they're not going to pass block unless you tell them to pass block. If you tell them to pass block, all of your receivers are degraded just a little bit, because there's one less target that's out on a route, and whoever's covering him is now free to play around with the other guys that are out on the field. And then there are plays where you have to rely on your players. You got third down, 2 yards to go. You need to get a first down. You've got a great offensive line, and you set yourself up with a solid running back and a good fullback, and you've got some good blocking. And you know that your best absolute chance to get that first down is to run that football. The defensive coach knows this too, and he's probably going to come after your running back. Now, many of you are still in that stratomatic mindset that the only way you can be successful is if you fool the other coach. If you get him to guess run when you're going to pass, or get him to guess pass when you're going to run. What you're doing is you're just beating yourself. The best thing you could possibly do when you have a play that you absolutely have to get done is to use your best players and your best play, regardless of whether the coach knows it or not, and let the chips fall where they may. If you've got great players, you're going to get some positive results. Not every time, but more often than not, you're going to get the results you want. So if it gets down to 3rd and 2, I'll go with the one thing that I have that I know I can rely on. If it's my running back, go ahead and key him, and we'll see who wins. Now, I've recently found out that one of the best ways to fool another coach is to use a full house backfield when you're on a short yardage situation, because they just love to key a running back, because there's this thought that keying a running back means you win. If you call the key right, you should win. But that's not true, because a lot of these running backs, a typical top flight running back will only lose 1.5 yards per carry when they're keyed. So if you have a guy that's sitting there at 5 yards per carry on the season, and he's keyed, and that takes him down to a 3.5 yard per carry running back, but you only need 2 yards, the odds are, even with the key, you're going to win. You're going to get your first down. Generally speaking, I like to use a 3 wide receiver, 2 running back formation if I'm planning some shenanigans. If I think I might try and run the ball, try and get the defense to go into a nickel or a dime and increase my chances to run the ball. Just because that's a better running formation than a 3 wide receiver, 1 running back. However, that doesn't mean I won't pass out of it. And a lot of times, I like to have a fullback and a halfback that are both good receivers. And if the defense decides to stay in a 3-4 or 4-3, a base defense, against my 3 wide receiver set, I can further take advantage of that by splitting both backs out wide and turning them into 2 extra receivers. So, those are the kind of things you can do when you're playing against people. And you're not playing against their team, you're playing against people, other coaches. You get them thinking, you get them guessing, you get them off of their comfort zone, and you can do some damage. So.
Thought of when I heard about it is, how does the press get this information that's classified? How do they do it? You know why? Because it's an illegal process. You are old enough to have seen a time that was much different. You never saw heads chopped off until a few years ago. They built pipelines, and they failed. Didn't work. They paid millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to consultants and lawyers, and they failed. I asked, what's going on in Chicago? Right? What is going on? There's no excuse for it. I think it would be frankly more interesting. I know how good everybody's ratings are right now, but I think they'd actually be better. How are the Republicans going to finally get together? Where did all these people came that voted for Donald Trump? And he was all set. I spoke to him on the phone. Very nice guy.
I hear he wanted that meeting with you as well.
He wanted it. But we called. They can't make a meeting with him.